To save the clan from annihilation, I was offered as a tribute to the tyrant who slaughtered without mercy. Just as everyone assumed I would not live to see the next dawn, I discovered a bizarre ability. I could hear the tyrant's inner thoughts. I dropped a teacup and shattered it. Tyrant's inner voice. Did she break it on purpose? To get my attention? She's into me. I stumbled and almost fell. Tyrant's inner voice. Stalling for time. Trying to stay longer. She's into me. I stared at him in shock. Tyrant's inner voice. She's looking at me. Case closed. She's definitely into me. Me. I was dragged into the palace against my will by Yang Tingyu. He had just seized the throne, and to consolidate his imperial power and authority, he needed to purge the remnants of the previous dynasty. His blade was thus turned on the prestigious 6 clans of Jiangbei, starting from the most renowned Zhong, Wang, and Zhao clans. He slaughtered his way through to the declining Shen, Wei, and Zhou clans. The killings drove the 6 clans to offer mountains of gold and silver to beg for their survival. But my Zhou clan was already on the verge of collapse. We held nothing but the empty title of one of the 6 clans of Jiangbei, with not a single valuable thing left to give. So they decked my hair with all sorts of flowers and trinkets, then pushed me forward to kneel before Yang Tingyu. Yang Tingyu sat astride a tall steed, his face cold as ice. He cast a sidelong glance at the vast crowd kneeling trembling on the ground. He let out a cold snort, then raised his whip and lashed it down amid the people's terrified gasps. I jumped in fright, squeezing my eyes shut and waiting for the killing blow, but no pain came. Only the elaborate peony ornament pinned to my hair trembled loose, falling to the ground and splattering my clothes with mud. I opened my eyes in surprise, only to have my fate sealed abruptly by Yang Tingyu's icy command. Take her away. Everyone called Yang Tingyu a tyrant. The 6 clans of Jiangbei had suffered unspeakably at his hands. Even being near him, one could faintly smell the sharp tang of blood, as if carried on a gust of sand and stone. It was like a steel blade, sharp enough to carve open the hearts of anyone who dared to approach him. I was utterly terrified. When I heard that Yang Tingyu had personally ordered me to serve him tea, my entire body shook like a leaf. No envious glances fell upon me, only waves of pitying sighs. The emperor hated the 6 clans of Jiangbei more than anything back then. Who knows how she'll die by his hand? Those whispered remarks seared my heart, filling me with anxiety, as I carried the tea toward Yang Tingyu. Those snide comments weighed heavily on my mind, making me too afraid to even lift my head, until Yang Tingyu spoke, breaking the silence. What is your name? I replied timidly, my voice barely a whisper. Zhu Qingyu. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. What a beautiful name. A voice brimming with secret joy echoed in my mind, sounding utterly surreal in the quiet hall. I looked up in stunned shock, thinking I had misheard. After all, the man before me exuded boundless majesty, sitting upright with a stern, unsmiling expression, cold and aloof. Just like the first day I saw him, he looked nothing like someone who would have such a silly inner monologue. Come closer. His voice rang out, hard as cold iron. I calmed my racing heart slightly. This was the tyrant I expected. But as I moved forward, I stumbled accidentally. The tea splashed all over Yang Tingyu's robes. A blade-sharp gaze shot toward me, so piercing that I forgot all the excuses I had prepared. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. Did she spill it on purpose? I opened my mouth, about to deny it. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. To get my attention. She's into me. What in the world? I jerked my head up, only to see Yang Tingyu still wearing that terrifying, unapproachable scowl. Not even the corner of his mouth twitched, but the voice in my head just kept going. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. She's staring at me. She's into me. Me. It took me the time it takes to burn half an incense stick to accept the fact that I could hear the tyrant's inner thoughts. Good news. I can predict his moves and save my own skin. Bad news. The tyrant seems to have a crush on me. Yang Tingyu waved me over, signaling me to approach him. I dared not disobey. I walked to him and knelt down, letting him take my hand and stroke it gently in his palm. "Did you burn yourself?" he asked. I shook my head. Yang Tingyu did not respond. Instead, he continued to caress the reddened skin on my hand where the hot tea had splashed it. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. "It must be that careless steward who cleans the hall. He left something on the floor and tripped her. Perfect. Kill him." I almost choked on my own breath and passed out from fright. "Wait, no, Your Majesty." I looked up at him in panic. He replied, his voice lazy and drawling, with a hint of amusement. I tripped over the hem of my skirt. I stammered. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. "Oh, so it's that incompetent tailor. The dress doesn't fit her properly. Perfect. Kill him." Me. "Wait a minute. Is this guy mentally unstable or something?" I almost screamed at the top of my lungs right in front of him. But reason eventually prevailed over panic. I was so overwhelmed by Your Majesty's imposing aura that I lost my composure and stumbled. I explained quickly. Yang Tingyu paused his gentle stroking and lifted his eyes to look at me, his gaze calm and unreadable. Silence. It hung heavy in the deep palace night. Tension. It crackled in the air like a sharp gust of wind, threatening to explode. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. She looked at me carefully. "She's into me. Guys, someone please tell me I'm not the only one who thinks this is insane. There's a tyrant right here, but he seems to have lost his mind." That night, Yang Tingyu ordered me to attend him in his bedroom. Maid Amu led me into the pitch-black sleeping quarters, then closed the door behind me with a look of deep sympathy on her face. I was left standing alone in the dark, clad in only a thin layer of clothing, trembling like a leaf, utterly at a loss for what to do, until a single candle flame flickered to life in the depths of the room. Its dim, flickering light cut through the darkness, illuminating half of Yang Tingyu's face, sharp and handsome, as if carved from marble. He held the candle in his hand, walking toward me step by step. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. What should I call her? Qingyu? No, too formal. Yua? Too intimate. Will she get mad? I'm so nervous, so nervous, so nervous. As if echoing his inner thoughts, I could faintly hear Yang Tingyu's breathing grow a little heavier. "Your Majesty," I said. Twisting the fabric of my clothes tightly in my hands, I curtsied deeply, my voice trembling with caution. When I was at home, my private name was Yua. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. Yes, a mental scream of joy exploded in my head. I jumped in fright, almost falling over. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. My wife allowed me to call her by her private name. "I'm so happy, I can cuddle with her today." Before his inner monologue even finished, I saw Yang Tingyu take a step toward me. "Wait a second. Hold on, what's going on here? When did I suddenly become his wife? Are all tyrants this familiar with people they just met?" Before I could recover from my shock, he reached out his hand toward me. The dim candlelight cast a seductive glow, amplifying the overwhelming aura of authority around him, especially now he had just finished bathing. His thin robe unfastened to reveal his chest. His well-muscled physique was half hidden, half exposed, making me lose all will to resist. I had heard the rumors. This tyrant was ruthless beyond measure. Anyone who dared to defy him would end up dead by the next day. I shuddered involuntarily. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. "Is she cold?" "No, Your Majesty, I'm not cold," I replied automatically, taking a step back to apologize, but he caught me by the arm. It was only then that I belatedly realized my mistake. I had answered too quickly, forgetting that I could hear his inner thoughts. Thankfully, Yang Tingyu did not seem to notice anything amiss. He pulled me into his arms, and I leaned against his firm, solid chest, feeling the steady, powerful beat of his heart beneath my ear. I couldn't help it. I swallowed hard. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. "Perfect. Yua is looking at me." I knew it. The handsome guy strategy always works on Yua. Me, what a schemer. As we lay down together on the bed, I ran through every possible scenario in my mind. Yang Tingyu had fought countless battles across the land. He was strong and robust, with incredible stamina. I didn't even dare to imagine how my delicate little body would fare against him. But I waited for a while. And nothing happened. I waited a little longer, and still nothing. Curiosity finally got the better of me. I pried one eye open carefully. Yang Tingyu was propped up on one elbow, looking down at me with a half-smile on his lips. Yang Tingyu's inner voice, "You is so cute." I didn't know if it was because of his ambiguous posture or his silly inner thought, but my ears suddenly felt burning hot. My face, it must be bright red by now. "Why were your majesty?" My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would burst out of my chest. I couldn't even form a complete sentence. "What is it?" He finally spoke, breaking the silence. I stammered. I bore the weight of the Six Clans' survival on my shoulders, yet I dared not do a single thing to change my fate. At that moment, overwhelming frustration threatened to swallow me whole, until a calloused hand gently lifted my chin. Yang Tingyu forced me to raise my head. In the flickering candlelight, I gazed into his sharp, sword-like eyebrows and star-bright eyes. "Well," he prompted, his deep voice laced with amusement. I must have gone mad, because at that moment, I thought Yang Tingyu's smile looked surprisingly gentle. "Is you expecting something?" he teased. The words stuck in my throat. I didn't know if it was my racing heartbeat that locked them there, or the scorching heat of Yang Tingyu's breath as he leaned closer. Seeing me flustered and at a loss, he smiled like a predator who had finally cornered his prey, confident and triumphant. He leaned down, his cool lips brushing against my burning earlobe. His slightly hoarse voice whispered against my heartstrings, sending an inexplicable shiver of ticklish warmth through my entire body. "Yua, may I call you that?" I nodded, a soft chuckle brushed against my ear. Then, the towering mountain of a man beside me suddenly collapsed onto the bed. Warm, soft blankets covered me from above. Everything fell silent in an instant. Even the candle flame stopped flickering. What just happened? I turned my head in shock. Yang Tingyu had already settled into the darkness, lying comfortably on his back with a relaxed expression. Wait a minute, is there something wrong with this guy? Just as I was drowning in confusion, Yang Tingyu wrapped his arm around my waist and tucked the blanket tightly around me from behind. "Rest early. Don't catch a cold," he whispered gently, then closed his eyes, looking as calm as if the burning, passionate man from a moment ago was someone else entirely. I must have opened the door to the wrong dimension. I wriggled a little, trying to find a more comfortable position to sleep in, one that wouldn't give me weird dreams. Then I wriggled a little more, trying to find a position where I could hear his inner thoughts clearly, until Yang Tingyu opened his eyes. Even in the dim candlelight, I could feel the confusion on his face. "What's wrong?" he asked. "I'm a little cold." I made up an excuse that not even I believed. The warm, burning heat of his body pressed against mine instantly, wrapping me gently in his arms. "Better now?" he asked. I nodded, but I couldn't suppress the scream of panic echoing in my mind. Help! Did I somehow end up with a fake tyrant? Just then, Yang Tingyu's inner voice rang out in my head, right on cue. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. "Yua looks so beautiful. She's so soft and comfortable to hold." The news of me attending the emperor in his bedroom spread like wildfire through the palace in no time. Everyone marveled at my incredible luck. I was the first person in history to enter the tyrant's sleeping quarters and come out alive. But I thought to myself, if I dared to tell anyone what happened last night, I'm afraid everyone would only think I've gone mad, whether I'm crazy or not. I have no idea, but the 6 clans of Jiangbei are probably going crazy with joy. Messages flooded into the palace non-stop. The clan spies planted in the harem secretly informed me that the 6 clans wanted me to beg the emperor for mercy, to stop Yang Tingyu from arbitrarily punishing them again. After all, he had already slaughtered nearly 7 out of every 10 members of the 6 clans of Jiangbai. Upon hearing this news, I couldn't help but roll my eyes. I could barely figure out how to survive in this treacherous palace. How on earth could I spare any energy to look after them? I was still racking my brain for an excuse to refuse when an eunuch from Yang Tingyu's side arrived. He said Yang Tingyu wanted me to bring him a jade pendant he had left under his pillow that morning. I reached under the pillow and sure enough, it was there, with no way to refuse. I had to bite the bullet and head to Yang Tingyu's Chongning Hall. At that moment, he was holding a court meeting with a group of old ministers. His long, slender fingers tapped lightly on the table, regal and imposing. The tapping only stopped when he saw me. A smile tugged at the corner of his lips as he waved me over. Yang Tingyu's inner voice, "Yua is finally here. Ah, I want to cuddle her." That cheerful, excited voice was nothing like his aloof, distant demeanor. As I handed him the jade pendant, the sound of the minister's discussions died down completely. Yang Tingyu raised an eyebrow. "Continue talking. Why have you all fallen silent?" Indignation simmered among the crowd. An elderly minister stepped forward, his voice brimming with disapproval. "For a woman to meddle in state affairs is like a hen crowing at dawn. It is an ill omen." The temperature in the hall dropped sharply, sending a chill down everyone's spine. Yang Tingyu let out a cold laugh. He caught my hand as I tried to slip away, gently stroking my fingertips. "If you have nothing to say, then you shall never speak again." After a brief, tense silence, the murmur of discussions slowly resumed. Yang Tingyu's attention wandered elsewhere. Yang Tingyu's inner voice, "Yua keeps her head down or glances at those old men. Am I not good looking enough? They've been droning on about the same thing all morning. Isn't it annoying? Thank goodness Yua is here. I still don't know what she likes to eat." Me. I tried to pull my hand away, but Yang Tingyu's grip tightened. A hint of mischief flickered in his eyes for a split second, only to be interrupted. One of the ministers below was asking about the disposition of the 6 clans. All the officials shot me meaningful glances. Yang Tingyu ignored them, turning to me instead. "What do you think, Yua? How should this matter be handled?" The words "palace women should not meddle in state affairs" were already on the tip of my tongue, but they died away instantly when I heard Yang Tingyu's inner voice. Yang Tingyu's inner voice, "Yua, if you wish it, I will do anything you ask." His tone was soft and lingering, like honey melted into warm milk. It was so sweet and sticky that my heart skipped a beat. The voice in his head sounded as if it knew my deepest, most secret desires. I had no idea how he could possibly know. In the end, I just lowered my head and said quietly, "I do not know, Your Majesty." Yang Tingyu chuckled softly. He turned back to the court officials. "What a coincidence. I do not know either." His words left all the ministers staring at each other in stunned silence. In the end, the matter of the 6 clans' disposition was dropped without any resolution. Naturally, the clan elders refused to accept this. They sent people to pester me constantly, putting immense pressure on me. Their harassment left me so stressed that I lost my appetite and could not sleep at night. Seeing me like this, Yang Tingyu grew worried. He stayed in my quarters every night, every day. He muttered in my ear, Yang Tingyu's inner voice, "Yua is unhappy. Could it be that someone in the palace has upset her? Should I just kill them all?" Me. Yang Tingyu's inner voice, "Those old men are completely useless. They can't even teach me how to cheer Yua up. So annoying." Me. Yang Tingyu's inner voice, "Maybe I should give Yua a surprise." I was still trying to figure out how to pretend to be surprised when Yang Tingyu had already prepared the surprise. He led me to a vast, mist-shrouded lake, then summoned an exquisite small boat, a warm smile on his lips. "Do you like it, Yua?" I tried to answer him, but my voice was stuck in my throat. I had never told anyone that before I was sent to Yang Tingyu as a gift by the 6 clans of Jiangbai, I used to drift along the rivers and lakes in a small boat just like this. How did he know? Yang Tingyu did not answer. Not even a single thought echoed in my head. He just stepped onto the boat casually, sat down, and leaned lazily against the side, holding out his hand to me. "Has you forgotten me?" On the surface, he was handsome and confident, but inside his head, a certain someone was panicking. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. "Yua has forgotten me. She doesn't care about me anymore." I want to cry. No, I have to hold it in. "I would never dare forget your majesty," I replied quickly. "No," Yang Tingyu said, shaking his head. "Not your majesty." He reached out and picked up a mask he had hidden in the side of the boat earlier, placing it half over his face, concealing part of his features. "I am the refugee who called for a boat in the rain 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I was still the most neglected daughter of the Zhua family in Jiangbei. My father had passed away early, my mother was ill, and our family property had been seized by greedy relatives after my father's death. After being exiled to a fishing village by the river, I became a fisherwoman, earning a living by ferrying people across the river in my spare time. At that time, chaos had erupted in the capital. Spreading to Jiangbei, a large group of soldiers searched the riverbank for days and nights on end. They refused to give up even when a heavy rainstorm struck, until late one night, a young man wearing a mask stumbled to the riverbank, soaked to the bone by the pouring rain. He was covered in blood, his eyes confused and disoriented as he looked around. I pulled my hidden small boat out to him, calling him to board, then sailed straight into the center of the river, braving the wind and waves. The rough waves tossed the boat about, leaving him weak and on the verge of collapse as I bandaged his wounds. I asked him, "Are you the man the 6 clans are looking for?" He tensed up instantly, his sharp eyes glowing brightly in the darkness. He did not answer, but his silence told me everything I needed to know. "If I wanted to harm you, I would not have saved you," I said, trying to ease his vigilance. I brought him medicine and bandages. Finally, when we reached the small island in the middle of the river, he spoke up, asking me, "Why are you helping me?" "No reason," I replied, as I wrapped his wound. "I just like doing things that annoy the 6 clans." I hid him in my secret cottage on the small island. In those days, he rarely spoke, and he never took off his mask. "If anyone ever sees my face," he told me once, his voice laced with a hint of amusement, "they will not live to tell the tale, even if he did not kill me." The 6 clans would never let me off the hook, so I chose not to ask any more questions. Memories of the past flooded back. My heart, which had been uneasy for so long, finally settled down. But as for the man in front of me, he held out his hand calmly and composedly, but inside his head, he was panicking like a little boy plucking flower petals. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. "Yua cares about me. Yua doesn't care about me. Yua cares about me. Yua doesn't care about me. Yua cares about me, me." His flustered inner monologue suddenly sparked my mischievous side. I had been cooped up for far too long, forced to act like a demure, proper palace lady. So I reached out and took his hand, teasing him with a smile. "Now that I have seen your majesty's face, I wonder if I will still be allowed to live." He burst out laughing, pulling me into his arms in one swift motion. "If letting Yua see my face means I have to marry her, then so be it." To my surprise, he still remembered the joke we had shared on that small island all those years ago. My face burned bright red in an instant. Yang Tingyu held me tightly in his arms, his joy evident. Even his inner voice exploded with excitement. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. "Yua remembers me. She really cares about me." Yang Tingyu gave me the entire lake as a gift. Ever since I was taken back by the 6 clans and sent to Yang Tingyu as a gift, I had been bound by countless rules and regulations, unable to enjoy a moment of freedom. Now, drifting on the lake, I felt as if I had returned to the old days, splashing in the river water, carefree and happy. I came to the lake often in the days that followed, lying lazily on the water, drunk on the beauty of the mountains and rivers. My long black hair fell loose, my temples damp with mist. I was so lost in the moment that I did not even notice when Yang Tingyu arrived. In my panic, I accidentally splashed water all over him. He did not mind at all. He wrapped his long arms around me, laughing loudly. "This is the Yua I know," he said, his eyes warm with affection, free-spirited, growing wild and unbridled under the sky and earth. His bright, smiling eyes dazzled me, leaving me momentarily breathless. He looked back at me, his Adam's apple bobbing slightly, as if he had something to say but hesitated. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. "Yua, Yua." I listened to his inner voice, growing hoarse as he called my name over and over again. His scorching breath lingered on my skin, soft and intimate. For a moment, I could not tell if it was the boat that was rocking or my heart. If a servant had not suddenly arrived to report that the ministers were requesting an audience with the emperor on urgent state affairs. Our tender moment might not have been interrupted so abruptly. Yang Tingyu's expression darkened instantly. He grumbled silently in his head about the minister's terrible timing, but his hand never let go of mine. He bent down, brushing a strand of damp hair behind my ear. "Yua is most beautiful when she is just being herself," he whispered. "All those fancy flowers and jewels, they are fit only for those old fogies in your clan." I giggled, catching his hand and rubbing my cheek against his palm affectionately. "When is your majesty most beautiful?" I asked. Yang Tingyu chuckled softly. "When Yua's heart belongs to me, that is when I am most beautiful." His answer was so sincere and earnest that it left my heart fluttering. To hide my flustered state, I quickly changed the subject. "Yang Tingyu, why did you raise your sword against the 6 clans?" But before he could answer, his inner voice exploded with overwhelming joy. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. "Yua called me by my name. She really does care about me." Yang Tingyu postponed his meeting with the ministers, choosing to stay with me. Drifting on the clear lake, he told me about the years gone by, how the 6 clans had held the former dynasty in their grip, appointing only their own relatives and cronies to positions of power, excluding anyone who dared to oppose them. Back then, he had just entered the imperial court, full of ambition and eager to serve his country. But because he was not related to any of the 6 clans, he was constantly marginalized and left frustrated and unfulfilled. He was not alone. Countless other officials shared his fate. Finally, 3 years ago, their pent-up resentment erupted, led by Yang Tingyu. Countless courtiers signed a joint memorial to the throne, denouncing the 6 clans for their corruption and tyranny. But the 6 clans were too powerful. They held the former emperor hostage, using his name to issue decrees ordering the execution of all scholars and officials who dared to oppose them or refused to pledge their allegiance. Yang Tingyu was their top target for assassination. With no other choice, he was forced to flee to the borderlands. It was on his journey that he met me. Yang Tingyu drew me close, his breath warm against my ear, his voice soft and low. "Yua, could you ever hate me?" I looked at him in surprise, confused by his question. Yang Tingyu lowered his eyes, not answering, but his inner voice was filled with sorrow and regret. Yang Tingyu's inner voice. "I slaughtered the 6 clans, all for you. Why would I ever hate you?" I asked, truly bewildered. His inner voice continued, unspoken. "I later marched from the borderlands to the capital, overthrowing the former dynasty and ascending the throne. When I returned to the riverbank to find you, the villagers who knew you told me that the daughter of the Zhou family had long been driven out by her clan. Her whereabouts unknown. In such troubled times, they feared she must have died. Hatred had consumed him then, fueling his brutal campaign to wipe out the 6 clans. But he never knew that by then, I had already been secretly taken back by the 6 clans, trained and disciplined to be presented to him as a gift. But he refused to tell me any of this. He just buried his face in the crook of my neck, his voice muffled. "It is nothing." Yang Tingyu treated me with boundless tenderness. I became the sole favorite consort of the harem. the envy of all. Everyone said it was because of me that Yang Tingyu halted the slaughter of the 6 clans. The young man who once vowed to avenge the wronged scholars had now forgotten his oath to rise up, lost in the bliss of his beloved's company. But the Zhou clan was overjoyed. They hailed me as the savior of the 6 clans and the trump card to restore the Zhou family's former glory. Yang Tingyu told me not to pay them any mind. The tyrant had now turned into a dissolute ruler, spending his days frolicking with me by the clear lake. I poled the boat, he picked lotus seeds, I sang songs, he tapped bowls in time, I swam in the water, he fished by the shore. Ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. The clear blue water echoed with our laughter. Yang Tingyu said, "Was it not better back then, on that small island in the middle of the river? You were the feisty Zhou girl who refused to give her name. And I was the masked stranger with no identity, free and unburdened. Why do you say that?" I asked. Yang Tingyu smiled. "Back then, you were bold and unrestrained. Now you're all prim and proper, dull. So dull." Annoyed yet amused, I ignored his inner thought. "Cuddle Yua," scooped up a handful of water, and splashed it at him. "Then go find that feisty girl. Why bother playing with me, the dull one?" He caught my hand in his, a smile playing on his lips. "The feisty girl has come to me, she's doused me with spring water. Is this not my reward?" I feigned anger, retorting, "And the nameless boy has come to me too, calling me dull and breaking my heart. Does he not owe me a reward as well?" "A reward you shall have," he said, his Adam's apple bobbing, his voice low and hoarse. "I shall accept it gladly," I whispered, my heart fluttering. The spring lake was still slightly cool, its surface calm and ripple-free, but beneath the tranquility, it felt as if our boat was ablaze, the waves surging and crashing around us. "If I am to claim my reward, who shall dare to stop me?" he asked. "The lake is vast and wide, no one can stop us," I replied. "If I am to repay my debt, who shall dare to stand in our way? On this lone boat no one can stand in our way." And so, the spring river rippled with 1,000 waves, as fish played among the lotus leaves east, west, south, north. I became the undisputed seductress who held the entire harem in her grasp. The Zhou clan strutted about with pride, praising me as the pride of the Zhou family. What a joke! If they had been willing to send their own beloved daughters into this den of peril, would this so-called blessing have ever fallen to me, a lonely girl cast out by her clan? The other 5 clans followed suit, sending endless gifts and messages to the palace, claiming the 6 clans have always been one, bound by blood and destiny. I ordered their gifts to be returned, untouched. As I stepped out of my quarters, I ran into Yang Tingyu, who had come to find me. He smiled and asked, "Why, you do not wish to intercede for the 6 clans?" "Intercede? For what?" I shot him a glare. "When I used to ferry people across the river, I saw countless scholars, young men full of passion and ambition, their eyes shining bright as they traveled to the capital to take the imperial exam. But most of them returned broken and defeated, their dreams shattered. Years of hard study had been for naught, their positions stolen by the relatives of the 6 clans, their efforts reduced to wedding dresses for others to wear. Some could not bear the pain. When the boat reached the middle of the river, they would leap into the swift currents, disappearing in an instant, too fast to save. This happened so many times, I went from shock to sorrow, until finally, my heart turned numb. I told Yang Tingyu all of this, then added softly, "This should never have happened under your rule. Until the 6 clans are eradicated, peace will never reign under heaven." A flicker of emotion crossed Yang Tingyu's eyes. He pulled me into a tight embrace, his voice muffled against my ear, like a lover's whisper. "Yua, my dearest Yua, luckily, I have you." His scorching breath fanned my ear. Soft, lingering kisses brushed my shoulders and neck. His arms tightening around me as if he wanted to merge me into his very bones and blood. I tried to push him away, but my body had gone weak under his tender assault. Yang Tingyu, it hurts. I had meant to put on a teary, pitiful expression to win his sympathy. Instead, I was met with his soft, mischievous chuckle. My sweet Yua, I shall be gentler. Me, seeing that I would not help their clan, the 6 clans hatched another scheme. They scoured the land for beautiful women, intending to present them to Yang Tingyu as concubines. Having been spoiled rotten by Yang Tingyu these past few months, my original fiery temper had returned in full force. When I heard the news, I was furious. Without a second thought, I stormed into Yang Tingyu's palace. At that moment, envoys from the 6 clans stood before a distracted Yang Tingyu, parading a group of beautiful young women and introducing them one by one. The moment I arrived, Yang Tingyu's eyes lit up while the envoys' faces darkened. He opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off sharply. Yang Tingyu, listen to me. If you dare to take even one of these women into the palace, I swear I will return to the rivers and lakes, and never see you again. Either you have a harem full of beauties surrounding you, or you have only me standing by your side, forever. Yang Tingyu froze for a moment, then burst into loud, unrestrained laughter. His eyes sparkled with delight, and his inner voice roared like thunder in my head. She's jealous, she cares about me. Well done, Yua, she's even found the perfect excuse for me to refuse them. Truly my worthy empress, I love my feisty wife so much. On the surface, he turned to the envoys with a polite smile. As you can see, my wife is a strict woman, fiery and unyielding. These young ladies are as delicate as flowers. How could they possibly withstand her wrath? I implore you, my lords, return to Jiangbei at once and do not trouble yourselves to come here again. The 6 clans had deep, tangled roots of power. Yang Tingyu had used me as an excuse to drive them out of the capital. How could they swallow this humiliation? Within months, word spread from Jiangbei that the clans were secretly raising troops and gathering weapons. The men who had fought alongside Yang Tingyu to seize the throne were eager to take action. And Yang Tingyu needed the perfect reason to wipe out the 6 clans once and for all. He would never let such a golden opportunity slip through his fingers. He immediately issued an imperial edict to all his ministers, ordering the army to mobilize and prepare for war, declaring war on the traitorous 6 clans. War was imminent. Jiangbei was crisscrossed with lakes and marshes, so Yang Tingyu spared no effort in preparing his naval fleet, having lived by the lakes and marshes of Jiangbei for so long. I took the initiative to draw detailed maps for Yang Tingyu. He worried that I would overwork myself, constantly stealing kisses and urging me to rest. I pushed him away, trying to escape his affectionate clutches. For the sake of justice, this is to repay the countless scholars who had their dreams stolen. For my own sake, this is to ensure that no more girls like Shuo Qingyu are left homeless and alone. Until the 6 clans are destroyed, the world will never know peace. Yang Tingyu chuckled, his warm breath tickling my ear. How could those fools of the Zhuo clan treason? How bold of you! Panic swept through the crowd. They fell to their knees, trembling, their voices silenced. I ordered the ringleaders to be dragged away and thrown into prison. After that, no one in the vast imperial court dared to act out of line again. Swallowing my grief, I reorganized the court, deployed new strategies. I continued to send reinforcements and supplies to the front lines, suppressing all talk of retreat or peace negotiations in the court. Everyone praised me for my wisdom and resolve, for my ability to shoulder the weight of the nation. But no one knew the truth. I was gambling. I was gambling that Yang Tingyu was not dead, because before he left, as he brushed that strand of hair behind my ear, I had heard his inner voice. He had thought, if I weave an elaborate scheme, Yua, will you believe in me? I believed. I believed that all of this was an audacious ruse he had planned, one that would deceive the entire world. Only if my grief, and the court's grief, were genuine could Yang Tingyu remain hidden in the shadows, biding his time to deliver a fatal blow to the 6 clans. But the dispatches from the front lines told a grim tale, defeat after defeat.
retreat after retreat. The six clans grew more arrogant by the day, the opportunists who had always sided with the powerful, ignoring the suffering of the common people, crawled out of the woodwork, flocking to the six clans' side. I purged them, wave after wave, until the day the six clans' surrender documents were scattered throughout the capital. On that very same day, a courier arrived at the palace, riding for his life, bearing news of a great victory. The six clans had been completely annihilated. Our army had triumphed. In the end, I had won my bet. The warship that had been sunk was nothing but a decoy. Yang Tingyu had secretly evacuated long before the attack, hiding in the shadows to command the battle. Our army's string of defeats had been a trap, luring the arrogant six clans away from their natural barriers and into our encirclement, where we had crushed them completely. On the day of his triumphant return, Yang Tingyu rode his tall steed, emerging from the clear blue sky, golden armor, black horse. He looked like a god descending from heaven. I heard his inner voice, calling my name over and over again, growing closer and closer, until he finally reached me, sweeping me into his arms, holding me tight. He looked at me earnestly, his eyes filled with deep affection. You truly believed in me. But his inner voice was doing cartwheels. I knew she'd believe me. I knew she cares about me. I laughed through my tears, answering his unspoken thought instead of his words. You fool, I do care about you. After eradicating the six clans, Yang Tingyu set about restructuring the imperial court. He reopened the imperial examinations, selecting officials based on their virtue and talent alone. Civil and military officials were appointed without regard to family background. Only merit and ability mattered. In an instant, talented scholars from all corners of the land emerged like bamboo shoots after a spring rain. Brilliant minds, from all walks of life, gathered in the capital, serving the nation. Everyone praised the new era. A golden age of peace and prosperity had finally arrived. The false label of tyrant, once pinned on Yang Tingyu by the malicious rumors of the six clans, gradually faded away. In its place, he earned the title of enlightened ruler. Thanks to his ruthless purge of the clan's remnants and his tireless efforts to govern the country well, Yang Tingyu was overjoyed. In our leisure time, he would occasionally reminisce with me about the old days on that small island in the middle of the river. On the surface, he was the epitome of solemnity. If you had not saved my life that day, none of this prosperity would exist today. But his inner voice was anything but dignified. I wanted to cuddle with Yua back then, and now I want to cuddle with her even more intimately. Absolutely shameless. What a dissolute ruler. I pushed weakly against his chest, begging him to stop. Yet I had to cling to his shoulders to steady myself. He held me close, his breath brushing my ear, his voice low and hoarse with desire. You once said, Yua, that only you would stand by my side, and now a cold, hard object was placed in my palm. It was the jade seal of the Empress. His hand covered mine, our fingers interlacing. He smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners, so handsome it took my breath away. And now, you can only have me by your side, too. I've given myself to Yua as a gift. Sometimes, hearing the inner ramblings of a lovesick fool could be quite the headache. The imperial edict conferring the title of Empress upon me was issued soon after, followed by another shocking decree. All concubines in the harem were to be dismissed. The court erupted in an uproar, but in the end, no one dared to voice their objections. Yang Tingyu said that I had grown up free-spirited, roaming the rivers and lakes. He felt it was already a pity to have trapped my body with the bonds of love and marriage. How could he then deny my heart the freedom to soar? So he made a special decree allowing me to accompany him to court and participate in state affairs. We sat side by side, hand in hand, ruling the country together as equals, standing united under the sun and moon. We swore to wipe out the last vestiges of the six clans' influence, to rebuild and reform the corrupted court from the ground up. Never again would the tragedies of the riverbank be repeated in this world. 4 years to come, we never wavered from this vow. As the sun and moon rose and set, as old gave way to new, we finally ushered in an era of clarity and justice, a brilliant golden age that would be remembered for centuries. And the story of the Emperor and Empress, ruling side by side in perfect harmony, became a beloved tale among the people, sung and celebrated for generations to come.